There is talk about an agreement between India and Japan, and independently India and Australia, to facilitate the export of nuclear technology which contains Japanese components to India, or the sale of uranium from Australia to India. Both these agreements go against traditional Japanese and Australian positions, which basically demand that countries which import their technology or their nuclear materials should stop building nuclear weapons, should stop using those materials or that technology to be able to further their nuclear weapons programs. In India's case, that is simply not the case. India, the Department of Atomic Energy continues to produce material to make nuclear weapons, manufactures nuclear weapons for all that we know, and presumably mounts them on various kinds of delivery vehicles like missiles and aircraft and possibly nuclear submarines at some point. So in some sense, the Japanese and the Australian positions would go against their traditional positions that they have held. There are two reasons why I think we should think twice about any of this kind of exports. The first is if there is any respect for democracy, the fact that there is so much opposition, especially in their home countries, including in Japan, for example, to constructing more nuclear power plants and so on, should suggest that Japan should not be duplicitous in terms of trying to export its nuclear technology when it is under pressure in its own country not to deploy any more nuclear power plants. In the case of Australia, I only have one simple message to think about. Australia is a country that doesn't operate nuclear power plants itself, but it is a country that is a very important supplier of uranium. Now, uranium, which is under the ground, once it is extracted and used for nuclear purposes, there are essentially three endpoints where it can end up at. On a good day, it ends up as irradiated spent fuel in a nuclear reactor. It becomes eventually radioactive waste, and you would have to find some site to bury it and hope that it never comes back to harm any humans for hundreds of thousands of years. That's basically wishful thinking for the most part, because so far nowhere around the world is there an operating repository which has been licensed. But this is on a good day. On a bad day, the uranium from an Australian mine might end up in a reactor like at Fukushima Daiichi 1, and where there is an explosion, and what was uranium once under the ground ends up as radioactive fission products sprayed around all over the countryside and contaminating soil and air and so on. And on a really bad day, it can end up as a nuclear weapon that explodes over a city like Hiroshima or Nagasaki, and we hope that never is going to happen. So before any kind of mining happens, that's a thought to think about.